We've done screen recording in the past with Zoom that allowed us to look at a PowerPoint and go through a paper or something like that and talk about it, and then capture that. And it captures it in a nice little MP4 file. To post it to a lot of your blogs, you will have to put it on YouTube, most likely, or host it. There's a couple that will allow you to host it on site. YouTube is the easiest, in my opinion. You can set it to private so nobody else can see it, or set it to unpublished. So that there's a couple different settings you can use to limit who can find it and how it's able to be seen, if you don't want it out there for the entire world to have it. But that's pretty simple to do with this. The other ones that I gave you, like Screencastify, and my favorite used to be Screener, but it's no longer in use, but you can keep using your old videos. Even QuickTime on your computer will let you, QuickTime on your computer will allow you to capture your screen pretty easily, and you don't have to pay for any of the more pricey pieces of software. Some of those are very, very nice. I've done a lot of work with Camtasia. It's pretty nice to work with, but it is costly compared to the other ones. So I'm fine with you using the free ones, as long as you can find something that'll work with your software and work with, or on your computer, and work with whatever you happen to be using interface-wise. So you can even use the photo booth off of your Mac or on your iPad and capture it that way, as long as you can upload it to something and then post it to your blog. That'll work. There's a bunch of you on here that haven't been here before to a Zoom session at night. Some of you have been here a couple times already. If you would like to introduce yourself really quickly, 30-second elevator spiel, this is who I am, this is what I do, and anything else that you should know about you really quickly, we can do that, and then we'll dive right into talking about creativity. So who wants to go first? Oh, I'm Jen. I'm your teacher. And I'm from West
I can go. I'm Audrey Fleet. I teach in Vicksburg in Kalamazoo, first grade teacher.
Hi, Audrey. And who's next?
I guess I'll go. I'm Krista Wilson. I teach 5th grade in a Southwest Michigan town.
Hi, Krista. Who's next?
I can go, but I don't know if I can.
Hi, I'm Maria Culbertson, and I teach in southwest part of Michigan, Niles, Michigan, and I teach high schoolers.
What do you teach in high school?
I teach 10th grade. My class is a PBL class. It's a combination of World History and English 10, and I'm the World History side.
All right, and I think Kaylin was ready to talk the last time.
Hi, I'm Kaylin. I teach 8th grade science, but I'm on maternity leave right now. Just had my baby 2 weeks ago. So if I have to leave my video, I'll be right back.
Hi, and how's the baby doing?
Very good.
Good. That's awesome. And who wants to go next?
All right, I'll go. I'm Mary Byerly. I am a 7th grade health teacher. Losing my voice, talk too much today. So, but yeah, lose it a lot lately.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, I'm Alicia Wakefield Medley. I've been on here a couple times already. Just introducing myself to new people. I work for a TRIO program called the Educational Opportunity Center. I work with a lot of adults age 16 and above, and I'm interested in adult learning.
Hi again.
Hi, I'm Jordan Long. I teach 6th grade social studies and science in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and this is my first session today, so I'm pretty excited.
Hi, Jordan. I'm about 3.5 hours from you. I'm in Pennsylvania too right now, so welcome. And I think there's 2 more.
I can go next. My name is Eric Whitmore. I work for Central Michigan University. I am not a teacher. I'm actually a software engineer. So I'm taking this as part of my ed tech master's and really enjoying playing with the technology and learning the educational side.
I guess, am I supposed to go next?
Sure.
I'm Angela Meyer, and I'm an early childhood professional, and I work for Lamphere School District, and I've worked with preschool kids for over 15 years, and this is my 3rd year teaching GSRP.
Angela, I got a question. Did you just say Lamphere?
I did.
My mom's the HR director there.
Oh, Rita?
Yeah, that's my mom.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's funny. Hilarious. You have to say something to her now. That's hilarious.
My name is Marcia, and I worked in the K-12 for 20 years. Currently, I am working at a community college in their Center for Teaching and Learning.
Okay, I think we're good. Nobody got missed, right? Okay. All right, so what you're doing this week is working with video. And the video, you're going to be looking at an instructional video that you find on YouTube or Vimeo or TeacherTube or any place that you can get to it. Please don't use a paid video that I can't get to watch. And do keep in mind, if you pick one that's 30 minutes long, I'm probably only going to watch about the first 5 and match it up to what you're doing, unless you give me specific numbers of things you want me to look at. Your overview of that or your evaluation of that can be 2 paragraphs, maybe 3 if you find some really good things or some really bad things about it. There are 2 guidelines to use with that, and you just do that and post it. Your blog post for the week then can be 1 post for your video evaluation and then a post for your other things, or it can be 1 big post. I don't care how you do this, as long as you give me the links for it that I can get to your blog even without the specific weekly title. As I said last week, you can pick 1 aspect of it to write your lesson idea about. You do not have to develop a full-blown lesson plan unless you really want to. I'm fine with you giving me your kind of cursory objective and your overall view of what you think would be happening with this. You are allowed to recycle any pieces that you've built or used if you want to use them as a part of your lesson and incorporate them into it. That's fine with me. So if you're going to make an instructional video here and you want to use it for a quiz later on when we do assessment, I'm fine with that. Okay. Later on in your career with this, when you hit 643, the instructional videos that you make in this class are allowed to be used as part of your unit that you develop. So if you kind of keep that in the back of your mind, you do a good job with this, you're allowed to double dip on the videos only that you create. You're not allowed to use any of the other pieces that you make, as far as I know anyway. So there's that piece of it. You're also going to be creating a video of your own through a screencast and working with that. So the pieces that you're building this week all kind of work around it. You can do these videos as you were doing a teacher piece of it. You can also do it as if you were a student and you were creating a model of what you want them to do. I'm fine with you taking a student perspective as well, particularly if it helps you in your setting. Okay, if you have any questions, anything you want to use that I haven't talked about or whatever, just email me. I'm usually pretty good about getting back to you. If I haven't talked to you in 24 hours, something's wrong. I lost it, I was going through on my phone and deleted your message or something, but it didn't get to me. I'm usually back to you, I would say, within a couple hours. Unless it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, then you might have to wait a little while. So there is that. These technologies that you're using, I don't care what you pick as long as it works. So anything you're comfortable with, or you can stretch your wings and try a new one and see how you like those. I had somebody last semester that had tried 3 different types of software to see which one she liked best and did a video for each one. Then she had 3 lessons that she used. I'm not saying you have to do something like that, but there are a lot of options that I try to present you with. And please, if you have something else that's awesome, put it into the Padlet, email me, tell me, you really need to check this one out. It's really great. That's how, since I'm not in the classroom anymore, I don't get the first, beta alerts on a lot of these really cool things to kind of play with them and see how they work. you guys are the ones that are actually doing that now if you're playing with technology for in your classroom or in your work setting. So I really appreciate it when you do send me a heads up on, this is something that's really great. This piece just must have upgraded. It works really terrible. Okay. So with that, I have you watching that Sir Ken Robinson's video on creativity in schools. And I'm seeing some of you smiling, so I'm thinking maybe you've seen it before this or you really kind of resonated with you. So tell me your impressions a little bit about the video with this talk.
I thought it was interesting as far as the idea that we have taken away those things from our students from the industrial age of teaching them how to be on time, teaching them how to do basic things, work skills. And now we've come to a point when you look at Google and when you look at eBay and when you look at all these different innovative companies, they're looking for that creativity and that they're looking for that open environment of a workplace rather than how well you come in on time. They recognize that people are different learners and they bring different skill sets to the workplace, and that we as instructors maybe need to rethink how we are setting up our classrooms and what our society kind of needs more than what, because that's what the industrial age did. You know, when we first started, we needed educated people. Well, we got that, and then we needed educated people for the workforce, and now we are definitely have reached that point where we're ready for the next transition of how do we incorporate, okay, so what if you want to work at midnight? Our society isn't limited by time anymore. You can work at midnight, but what you create and what you bring to the team is much more important than the fact that you can show up at 8 o'clock.
I definitely agree with you on a lot of points, although I think a lot of jobs still do require the timeliness and the reliability that sometimes gets lost in it. How about anybody else? If not the video, what is your thoughts about the importance of creativity and learning in any way, shape, or form? This is definitely like being a teacher with the wait time.
I think students do a really good job and they learn a lot more when they're able to show creativity and just put their own twist on things.
I think as far as creativity, that it's very important. Concrete learning is very important that we allow our students to be more creative in a learning environment. That way, whatever you're teaching them, whatever you want them to learn or grasp from a lesson, it becomes more concrete for them. So just going back to theory, I think the concrete learning ties into the creativity piece.
Okay, I hadn't thought of it that way, but I'm sure there is connections between having something that you can, an artifact, even if it's a digital artifact, versus something that's very abstract. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
I know with my kids, we just recently went through a genocide project, and one of the end products was creating a video where they call to action an NGO or an IGO for doing more work in a certain area that maybe is struggling with a genocide, with Darfur, whatever it may be. And so my kids are still kind of asking questions, or when they see things on the news, they think about, oh, we just did that. And I feel like what I think it was Lisa said, it absolutely, when they can be more creative, it sticks with them better.
That's really cool. I really like the way you've talked before about the problem-based learning school that you're working with. I think that's a really interesting concept. I do a lot of problem-based learning, but I've not heard of an entire school built around it. Is it a traditional public school or is it a charter?
It's a regular, public school. We're funded by the state. I think there's 170 schools throughout the U.S. that are a part of this new tech network. But it's all PBL based. Most of our classes are integrated with 2 content areas. Every learner has a laptop, and it's normally some sort of MacBook, so that they can create videos with iMovie and they can just be more in tune with different things. But it's been a big stretching point because I went from a traditional standard classroom to this, and it's really great. There are challenges, of course, when every kid has a laptop and they can all Google chat each other and stuff, but it's good.
Awesome, thank you. How about anyone else? Do you have the importance? Have you seen any importance in learning of being creative in your work environment or in your school setting? I know some of you are not traditional school settings. What about creativity in those kind of places?
I know for my classroom, when you use creative thinking, we're using it based on the fact that we want to use where the children are very interested in it. So we take their ideas and we incorporate that within our lesson. And so I use that to do something that's more like developmentally where they need to be. So if they're very interested in fine motor skills, then I find something that, or I mean not fine motor, but like architecture, then I'll attach that to something that's very attached to fine motor if I'm developing that skill. Or if I'm looking to develop letters, I might do something with sponge painting if my kids are interested in painting. So we kind of incorporate our own, we use their driven desires to develop our lessons.
Anyone else? This is going back to my student teaching days when my co-oping teacher would time me on wait time.
I can speak to something a little different. So not being a teacher, I don't have those experiences, but being a software engineer as well as a small business owner, when I'm looking to hire somebody, especially someone that's technical, creativity plays a big part of it, to the point where I ask them as a part of the interview process, do you have a pet project that you work on that's something you enjoy, that's fun? Because those people that are typically passionate and being creative are usually more critical thinkers, and they think outside the box a lot more. And while we think that software engineering and computer technology is a very mathematical, analytical skill, when you think about software development or writing or creating, you're creating a program, and it's a very creative process. And people just don't think about it that way, and a lot of technical people don't think about it that way. So if you find someone that does think about it that way, it is usually a very worthwhile thing that you want to capture and hire, usually.
I was hoping.
Jen, you muted your mic.
I must have not been muted before. I do that all the time for those of you that haven't been on here yet. Yeah, I was hoping you were going to say that, because I've heard that in the past, that people think of engineers as being very, very technical and very boxed in, and then being able to harness that creativity to kind of push you over into new stuff that people haven't really done before is something that's a little difficult. And for those of you that are working in STEM fields, a lot of the focus right now on STEM is actually tying back into a couple things that were said with the concrete, stretching the concrete and tying to the creativity and the artifact development, and having the passion and thinking outside the box and having an interest. I've seen a lot of, been reading a lot, and then Central Michigan is actually creating a makerspace in the education building right now. And this makerspace innovation that has been kind of around all along, but it's now coming to the forefront again, is something that people are hoping will harness a lot of the STEM skills and a lot of the engineering development kind of things, as well as the creativity, and bringing that back into the educational process in an informal but formal way. So have any of you ever done anything with that?
I've been learning about it, but I also had heard of it as STEAM. So science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Now, is that something that you're trying to incorporate as well with the STEM?
Sometimes the art. No, yeah. Okay, I've talked to a couple of people in the art department, and what they want to emphasize is the fact that a lot of science and math and technology is already inherent in the art process. And so they were a little offended sometimes when people put the A in the STEAM. But on the other hand, I think it's really allowing that people, the students that do not have the connection to science and math, and maybe should be, or maybe have those abilities and they don't really want to focus on them. They're really focusing on their art development. I think that adding the A in there for the STEAM part allows them to make a connection that they would feel like almost, well, speaking to someone that I had in class as a freshman last semester, they felt that if they were kind of to go over to the STEM side of it, that they were a little bit on the almost betraying their roots kind of thing, because they're an artist and that's what their education is going to be, art education, and they had this kind of divide. So I see it both ways, and I think that it's really important to recognize that it belongs in there without the A being put in, as well as the, recognizing the fact that a lot of art processes do tie into the STEM stuff.
Our art teacher actually piloted a sort of STEAM project this year with the 5th graders, with my students, and they created their own robots, and that was awesome. He completely took over the project, and he connected with what I was doing in 5th grade physics and to what they were doing in math. And it was awesome to see the kids who don't think they get math and science get it when it was taught in art class. And from the design of their robots to weighing how much their robot cars could move or how quickly they could accelerate, it was mind-boggling to see this group of kids just shine academically where they normally don't. So that was awesome.
That's great to hear.
We have a class that the freshmen take. It's called BioArts, combination of biology and art. And so they learn biology concepts through art, and art with biology and so forth. But one of the really cool things that I liked, that I wish I could have done in biology, because that was not my expertise at all, was they create cells out of clay. And so they actually create the mitochondria, and they create all the different parts of a cell, and they put it all in this huge like clay structure that they make formed out of a basketball shape, and they paint it, and they just learn how to do things with clay and through art, but then they're learning the biological concepts too, which I think is neat.
Very cool. Very cool.
Our school actually just started doing a makerspace after school, and that's kind of neat. They have 2 different sessions because there are so much of an interest. So we have a 2nd and 3rd grade group, and then we also have a 4th and 5th grade group who meets once a week. And they've really enjoyed it.
That's really cool too. I'm glad to see that it's spreading. Now, does anyone have any technology specifically that you've used with the thought of supporting creativity in your classroom?
Years ago, when KidPix first came out, we wrote a grant for our district, and it was with the science 3rd grade students, where they had to create, she did an animal research project. So then they were into teams where they then used KidPix, and they had to find facts on it, and then they had to do, each slide was a little bit different aspect of it, but the creativity, we wanted them to use the tools of the KidPix. We wanted them to, put an image. We wanted them, so they had different things that they had to do, like include an image, and they had to make a drawing, and they had to, so the work that each student was doing, they were very much into it. And it was really neat, because then we were able to, we went down actually to the state of Michigan, the Capitol building, and presented with a whole bunch of high schoolers. So these little 3rd graders were down there, showing the work that they had done through animation on KidPix, and how they used it as a science project to do their research, and how they cited, and how they kind of cooperative work on it. So it was a lot of fun to be able to watch that kind of creativity, and the interest that the students had with each other, like, how did you do that? How did you get that to look in different ways? So it was not only a science project, but it was really a great way to get the students to get them involved, and to have to make choices on their images, to their design, and then the research itself as a group.
Did anyone else want to add to that? This doesn't let you put hands up like the thing on Blackboard does, so that makes it a little bit Oh, yes, it does let you raise and lower your hand. How are you doing that?
If you hover, let's see here. You have to get the participant view popped up on the right.
Yeah, I've got that, but I don't have a
And
raise
if
and
you
lower
hover
hand.
down on the bottom right, there's a raise hand button. You may not have it because you're the host, but we all should.
Yeah, I see you all doing it now. That's the problem with always being the teacher in these kind of things. Somebody else will have to. Wow, everybody got their hand up now. Okay, does anybody else have anything to add? No, okay. I'll have to leave that up now. Now the last real question that I have for you then is really, how do you assess creativity? Do you assess creativity or evaluate whenever you're having it in a classroom or in a work setting? Is that a part of something that you measure, or is that just a part of something that you value?
I go with value.
I would go with value also, unless you have incorporated some elements of creativity into your rubric.
Okay, do you want to expound on that a moment, and then people can join in on your thought on that?
Let's say if how would you evaluate creativity? I mean, if there's a certain type of animation, if we're talking about the technology, a certain type of technology they've used that's a little bit more advanced than you would expect your age group to utilize. Now, since I'm with adult education, I have no idea how I would backtrack and try to evaluate that piece. But if I was teaching secondary school, then I may be able to be a little bit more flexible and build that into a rubric. But for adults, I mean, you could get anything from an animated cartoon or a video, you know, so it just depends on what that assignment is that you're going to evaluate. Let's say you ask for a report, maybe some type of digital report, and you could tell by the things that they built into the report, it's more than just the words. It may include some animation, or maybe they did a PowerPoint slide and they really put the animation in it, or they put the colorful slides on the back, those sort of things. So, I mean, anybody that's teaching on secondary level, maybe you could kind of chime in and give us some.
Save her.
At my school, we do use different rubrics, and we actually grade the kids in different categories. So we do have a content literacy category, but we also have a critical thinking category, a presentation category, a writing literacy category, and then they have different strands within that. And for presentation, one of them is their use of media, and are they using media that's appropriate, adding meaning, like all of those kinds of things. So all of that gets compiled by math percentage stuff and to accumulate to their actual grade. But that's a way that we grade creativity, is through different strands and different rubrics.
I feel like in younger elementary, I teach first, and I feel like it's just so important for my kids to just be excited about trying to learn this new technology, and I don't want to stress them out by assigning people with it. So I guess it's a little bit different for the younger grades because it's so new for them.
Well, and for me, I'm doing anecdotal notes. So every time I do a note on a kid for assessment, I'm actually taking notes on every child and then plugging them into a computer system. So we do have a section on creativity that we do assess them on, but I'm writing in what they're doing, or I'm including an artwork or some sort of picture or something to that effect to show exactly what those children are doing. So sometimes with my kiddos, I might be able to do something on a computer program and snap a shot of it to incorporate it in my notes.
What if it was added like a bonus area for the students rather than, all out assessment part of the grade? They could get like extra credit points if they went above and beyond on an assignment. Then maybe that may be, you may be able to build that into it.
I was going to, when everybody was done talking, I was going to actually say almost exactly what you said. Ways that I've seen creativity assessed or evaluated in a classroom was talking to students a little bit about what creativity is, the fact that it's something new or novel, using, almost repurposing things to put them together in new ways, and that kind of thing. But then the rubric added up to like a 95%, and going above and beyond in some of the ways that some of you have mentioned was their creativity. So showing creativity, showing extra ambition, all of those things a lot of times will get lumped together into that little bit to push them up to the 100% if that's what they're really aiming for. And that also allows you to have a rubric, which we'll do in the week on assessment. But it allows you to have a rubric that doesn't stifle the kids, because sometimes if you give them the rubric, they do exactly what's on the rubric, and that's all you get. And you get none of the things that are like, this is the most interesting project I've ever seen. You get a whole lot of, this meets all the requirements, and you're done. And so having that little extra bit allowed in there for some leeway on what they want to do with it, sometimes will help spark a little creativity with the students trying to get, kind of one up everybody else in the classroom, because now it's something that actually does have a value to it. And I think as educators, in any way, shape, or form, whether in your classroom or not, having that emphasis on the fact that creativity is important is something that is going to prove very valuable in the future. Does anyone else want to add anything to that?
Really quick, my special education students struggle with being creative, so I'm constantly pushing them to make something original. And just like you said, when I give them a rubric, they'll do exactly what's on the rubric to earn their grade, and then they want to do that. So I do struggle to encourage my special education students to be science to be creative. For the other students, it's not such a big struggle.
Okay. I've worked with a lot of co-taught chemistry classes over the last 5 years. I've been a teacher. I was a teacher at my district that did the co-taught chemistry class. And I know that sometimes for them, just getting their heads wrapped around the content is so hard. But then other times they really have embraced the technology, and they've done just incredible, beautiful work on the creative side that hopefully ties back to the content a little. But the joy and pride that they have whenever they've done something really well like that is really amazing to see. So does anyone else have anything they would like to add?
I think the hardest part for the new position that I'm in is getting the instructors to understand in that video presentation that point of just don't throw a PowerPoint up and talk about it for 15 minutes. Be creative, be innovative, be, try and get them engaged in it and what's so important about the video that you have to go on for 15 minutes. So that's what I find most interesting is not so much the students itself, but it's dealing now with the instructor end of it and saying, get away from a PowerPoint, let's take a stop, let's take a look. In fact, I'm working with a couple instructors right now, and they're trying to be that for the fall. They're trying to get ready for the fall. So sitting with them and saying, why are you showing this? And just taking what you're doing right now and trying to do that with my instructors that I'm working with.
Thank you. I agree that sometimes it's us older ones that seem to lose our creativity versus the younger ones. And Alicia, I'm laughing at you. Eric raised his hand very nicely, so I'm going to give him a moment to talk, and then we will wrap this up unless there's more that you do want to discuss.
I was just thinking about, and I'm glad we don't do this at Central IT anyway, but a lot of these major technology companies, a large part of their interview is just crazy questions. And you read articles about this, and I was just pulling one up on the internet here. For example, Google will ask, how many golf balls fit into a school bus? Or how much would you charge to wash all the windows in Seattle? And all they're doing is trying to assess these people, these geniuses, for their creativity. And, I don't know that I would come up with great answers for these things, but I'm sure somebody does. So there is a real world application after school, for sure, to be creative.
I would definitely say that there are a lot of jobs that require you to be creative, and I think any kind of education setting, being able to be creative helps you engage the students, as well as think of really great examples for them and allow them to if they see you exercising some creativity, sometimes they're willing to step out of the box for that as well. Okay, so that's all the things that I have that we needed to talk about for this. Is there anything else that you folks want to mention? Anyone else that wanted to speak, or anything else that you had thoughts on from what we've been talking about this evening?
I have a quick question because I came in a little late, but for the video that we're supposed to make, how long is it supposed to be?
Not very. I think I have it. I think I have it listed in there. Off the top of my head, I'm saying 3 to 5 minutes. It might be shorter than that. Please don't make them any longer than 5 minutes. It'll take you forever to load them up. And if everybody does, okay, 4 to 5 minutes. That's awesome. Thank you, Eric. If you do them much longer than that, it's hard to upload. A lot of the software examples that I gave you for the free version are 5 minutes long, and they cut you off. Like Jing, for example, will stop you at 5 minutes. And so keeping it kind of shorter and really targeted is probably the best way to go about that. But thank you for asking, and Eric, thank you for answering for me. Anyone else have anything that they needed to ask about the assignments or about the class in general? Okay, as always, if you are wanting to speak with me, you don't have to leave. Anyone else that has had all their stuff answered and you're ready to move on with the rest of your beautiful evening here in Pennsylvania anyway, on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, in most of the computer screens, it says End Meeting. You click on that to leave, and if you have anything that you want to stick around and talk to me about personally, just kind of stick around and we'll have a small group or individual discussion then at the end. And I will stop recording so I don't record your things. Thank you all for attending tonight and for giving up a little piece of your night to be here, and I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy creating your artifacts this week, and have a good night.